Got it.
Oh, yep. It shows it on mine too.
I was about to say, normally it pops up for me and says, "Hey, you're being recorded." So
Yep.
that's good. All right. So I just want to say thank you for meeting with us.
You bet.
This is a kind of a new venture that we're going into. We always, every issue of We Are Sand Springs, feature a professional who has been educated in the Sand Springs School District, and usually has either been inducted to the Sand Springs Education Foundation Hall of Fame or is about to be. So this is an exciting article that we do. It's called Where Are They Now? Um, and like I said, it's just locals that are doing amazing things. We want to talk about it, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. So, again, thank you for your time. I know that you're busy. Are you surviving the snow weather as we're recording this so that everybody watching knows we've got like 7 inches of snow outside.
Yeah, absolutely. OSU's kind of been out for the last 3 days, so we try to put the safety of our students and faculty and staff at top of mind when the weather gets bad this time of year. And so, obviously, with COVID, it's taught us a lot about the ability to do hybrid and to do online. I don't think that's as good as face to face, but it's taught us that when we have some snow days, that education doesn't have to come to a grinding halt. So um, we've been doing some of the online stuff, and I really appreciate the intro. What's funny about all this is I'm not sure anything that I've done is great that would allow me to be in your magazine or even in the Sand Springs Hall of Fame. I'm honored, obviously, but I'm just kind of an average guy, and that a town sort of adopted, and we can talk a lot about education and sports and just people that are kind that took a chance on me and took an interest in me. And so any success that I've had professionally is because of what I got in Sand Springs.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, just a little introduction of Kyle.
Hmm.
You are the Senior Vice President of Executive Affairs
Right.
at Oklahoma State University.
Right.
How long have you been in this position?
Just since July 1, I'm in my 18th year at Oklahoma State.
Wow.
I sort of came here a lot in common with your background, Danielle. I was at Oklahoma Christian University for 10 years as vice president for enrollment and brand management. When I came to OSU, it was as the director of marketing, and so started a lot of different magazines. State Magazine, which was blending the Alumni Association, the university, and the OSU Foundation. So put that magazine together that comes out 3 times a year. Anything that has to do with OSU athletics, the marketing of the university. So if it's orange, it has OSU on it, or Pistol Pete, it sort of came through the marketing office. And the president at the time sort of tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to become the special assistant to the president, which meant I did whatever he said. And so a great experience. Dr. David Schmidley was his name. And then Burns Hargis became president of OSU about 3 or 4 years later. He had been on the Board of Regents. And each time along the way, when we had a new president, I sort of got an opportunity to step up and do something different. I took over enrollment management just like I had at Oklahoma Christian University. And so the marketing and the branding of the university and enrollment sort of go hand in hand. I mean, when you're promoting to prospective students and their parents, where people send their students and their kids to school is important. I have 2 daughters, and I always have my dad hat on, regardless of how old they were or are. And I'm not unlike any parent in America. They want their daughters or sons to go to school to be safe, that it's a great education. And so as we sort of promoted those things together, enrollment grew and the brand of OSU grew through a lot of different people. One of the things I love doing is building teams of people. It's not me, it's we. And
Right.
putting teams together, that's been a consistent thread throughout my life that I would certainly talk about when we get to education and sports specifically. But
Yeah.
um, so Dr. Casey Schrum became president here in July, and Casey and I have known each other a long time. She was the dean of the medical school and president of Center for Health Sciences there in Tulsa. Um, she became the first female president of any research
Yes.
institution in the state of Oklahoma. Um,
Yes. I remember when I saw the announcement come through.
yeah.
Big
Um,
news.
and so Casey talked with me, and we sort of arrived at this decision together. And so I left I was vice president for enrollment and brand management at OSU, and to become the senior vice president in her office for executive affairs. Um, the president's job is a very challenging one, um, one where you have to raise money, and to raise money, you have to meet a lot of donors. It's dealing with the legislature. It's dealing with obviously people that are interested in giving money to OSU. And so it's sort of a tag team. I mean, she goes in one direction, I go in another.
Right.
And anything that I can help her in doing what needs to be done from a strategic perspective at OSU is what I do. So um, it's not the academic piece. We have a provost that does that takes care of all the deans and the faculty, but the operations side and what happens on a day-to-day basis, certainly inclusive of the enrollment and the brand management and the finances and just the general workings of the institution sort of fall at my feet. And so it's never boring.
I was
Um,
about to ask, so your days don't look the same.
they don't look the same. I back when I was in enrollment and brand management, you sort of had tunnel vision for those things. Although those two areas, enrollment puts you in a lot of over people that look in a lot of high schools, a lot of communities, certainly across the state of Oklahoma and in this region. We have students from all 50 states and 120 foreign countries. So that gets you in front of a lot of people. And then the brand management side. It's not just about promotion, it's about communication. And communication
Yep.
is a two-way street.
Yep.
So when you say something to one of your target markets, you want them to say something back to you, whether
Mhm.
that's buying season tickets for football, or writing a check and sending their child to school here, or supporting us in the state legislature. So that was exciting, but now it's just opened up a whole nother world with the entire university and the entire system. Of course, we have 5 different campuses across the state. So every day looks different, and I love that. It keeps you young, keeps you excited, keeps you extremely interested in your job, and hopefully sharp as you take on different problems every day.
Yes, it sounds like a lot of your work is very intentional, which I think that if you're whatever you're doing, especially in marketing, of course, that hits home a little bit for me. There's
Mm-hmm.
really no point in doing communication or having any efforts to in that arena if there's not an intention behind it. And knowing who you are, I say this, I think I said this actually in my letter that was in the We Are Sand Springs magazine last edition, or perhaps the one before that. But, branding is very similar to knowing who you are as a person and taking that time to identify who you are, what you stand for, and articulating that.
Yeah,
So I think that we're all a brand to a certain degree.
yeah,
So I want to say congratulations on your induction into the Sand Springs Education Foundation Hall of Fame. I know you said that you're not sure what work you've done, but it sounds like just by your experience and your focus on other people, which, not being myself in Sand Springs for quite some time now, the foundation and fabric of that community is very much about being the person that that's what Sandite means, right?
sure.
Is as being that person who's focused in helping. The foundation within Sand Springs is philanthropy. The whole community is developed on it, and to break that down to its simplest form, and that is helping other people, and that falls right in line with what you were saying, and developing teams, right? That is sports, and I cannot wait to hear those what you have to say on that regard. But it also is just within your everyday work, right? You get in what you put out. So let me ask you this. Does this induction to the Sand Springs Education Foundation Hall of Fame kind of feel, one, an honor? I know you said that, but does it kind of feel like a homecoming a little bit without the parade? Or are you expecting maybe a parade?
It does. I spend a lot of time in Sand Springs just because my mother and my sister still live there. And so I get a chance to drive there often. And, I go down memory lane a lot. You didn't ask me these questions yet, but I always pass my favorite store in Sand Springs, which is Mock Brothers Saddlery,
Yes,
um,
yeah.
on 412. And my parents bought me my first pair of boots there. I still have a jacket in my closet from Mock Brothers that I got my senior year in high school.
Great
Um,
guys. They're
yeah,
those are just,
absolutely.
and their sons. They're just solid company.
Yeah,
Solid company.
yeah. I sort of feel like I go back in time. I like to surround myself with things that I like, and every time I walk in Mock Brothers, there are lots of things that I like in there.
Mm,
From the smell of that leather when you first walk in, and the people and how nice they are, which kind of represent Sand Springs itself. Um,
yes.
Shell Creek, coming down from Shell Creek Lake into the Arkansas River. If it flew or swam, I hunted it or fished for it out there, and sort of grew up on that Shell Creek and hunting and fishing there.
So
So,
good.
yeah, it is a homecoming, and just makes me thankful for um, what people did for me. Like I said, I'm not really nobody special. Again, just an average guy that for whatever reason, people wanted to help, and that started really from day one. I mean, I went K through 12 in Sand Springs, and even from a kindergarten perspective, I remember teachers taking personal interest in me. And again, when we're parents and you send your child to school every day, you hope that people are focused on educating them and keeping them safe. And pouring some of themselves into your child, and that's exactly what I got. Um,
I love
in
that.
grade,
So,
yeah, in grade school, I was at Pratt Elementary, and I walked every day to school right down the hill from my parents' house there on 32nd Street, and there encountered some great teachers that again were interested in me and started to try to find some things that I might be good at. Along with religious experiences. I was always a member of the Sand Springs Church of Christ, and I love to tell a story about my parents didn't make a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up, and so we cleaned the church building um,
mm,
on Monday evenings, and so that was after the two services on Sunday and before the service on Wednesday night. And after my sister and I finished emptying trash cans and those kind of things that you'd have little kids do,
yep.
our minister got me and put me up behind the podium in the auditorium and gave me a Bible scripture and asked me to read it and then tell the audience, which was he and my sister, um,
Ah,
what I thought that meant. And so my experience as a public speaker began there.
wow.
And so by the time I was, 7, 8, 9 years old, one Wednesday night a month, I would speak in front of 100 adults. And um, I'm a singer, so I learned to sing in church there as well. But all those things began to emerge and converge as teachers began to see that I wasn't shy about getting up in front of people and talking. And so um, that was sort of a pattern that would follow, the rest of my life.
Oh, that's so wonderful. That's so wonderful. And it's just exactly what it sounds to me when you talk about team building and everything that you've been doing, such a just a foundation of intention. Intention,
Mm.
right? What
Yep.
we hope from our teachers when we send our kids is that they're showing up with intention of pouring into them. And such a lovely story to hear that from the education system to our church family in Sand Springs, that that is exactly what you're receiving. And truly, as a parent, I feel like that's, I know, I watch that with my kids. That's exactly what they're receiving now. And in other communities, that's not always the case. I mean, we're pretty blessed in Sand Springs.
You bet.
So it's
Absolutely.
a wonderful community. So kind of speaking on homecoming,
Yep.
and I know it's going to be very difficult to kind of narrow this down because you had so many, but can you remember some experience within the Sand Springs education system, maybe in high school or through coaching, or you choose? I'll let you choose. It sounds
Yeah.
like you have quite a few that kind of prepared you for this journey you've gone on in your career.
Yeah. I would say when I got to Clyde Boyd is when you're a little bit older, and I had several teachers there, take a personal interest in me. And what's funny about that is you think, well, they just took a personal interest in me, but they took a personal interest in a lot of people, and it's because they um, took very seriously, the job that they had. And
Mhm.
I think sometimes where you fertilize and water, the grass grows, and you can't help everybody, but for those who show the desire to be helped, maybe I just needed more help than anybody else. But um, I would say there was a principal there. His name was Larry Elliott, and
Mhm.
Larry is still around Sand Springs, I know. Um, and sometimes I'm sure it's difficult to think that as an administrator, as a principal, did you have any impact? And
Mhm.
he had a great deal of impact on me. But um, the person that stands out the most is a guy named Tommy Gann. Um,
Okay.
Tommy Gann and his wife Leah were both teachers of mine. Tommy was at the junior high and taught math and coached football and basketball. And so I had him for all three. I had him in class and then football and basketball. Um, Paula Thurman, who was an English teacher there at Clyde Boyd, was also made a huge impact on me. Um, the Kinzer family, Mr. and Mrs. Kinzer, both there at Clyde Boyd, also huge impact. I mean, just almost every class you went to, they people wanted to help you. And when it came time for it back then, Clyde Boyd was seventh through ninth, and so when the ninth grade was about over that year, Coach Gann pulled me into his office and said that he had taken an assistant basketball coach's job at the high school and was moving up with me. So as I went to the Charles Page, so did he, and
Oh,
we
that's
forged
great.
um, a really close friendship. And so what's funny is I went to my mother's house about 2 weeks ago. And so I'm supposed to be supplying Tarita with pictures, and I've started sending her some.
Yes.
I owe her several more.
You heard it,
Um,
Tarita. He
but
owes you several more.
I ran across this note. Now this note is 37 years old,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
it says, "Best of luck in your college days and the years after. I hope that in some way I've helped to make you a better person, um, or to point you in the right direction. Our time for working close together has come to an end, but friendships and good memories can never be taken away from you. I'll miss you, Coach Gann."
Oh, that's
Um,
so.
so I talk to Coach Gann probably once a week, even today. And he just a great guy. He and his wife Leah. So when I got to the high school, um, Leah was a biology teacher, and she was tough. She
Mm,
was an extremely tough teacher and would not take less than your best. And I learned in her class that if you didn't give it that, she was going to talk to you. And
Mhm.
so making an A in her class was always a goal, and always very challenging. I you know With Coach Gann, he taught me so much, but one of the key things he taught me was back to your idea of teamwork. I scored points, I scored touchdowns, put the ball in the basket, and all those things. But what was more important was, can you be a leader on the court? Can you be a leader on the football field? Do you have integrity? Do you have a work ethic that everyone else will try to match? And I was not the best basketball player, and I wasn't the best football player on the court or on the field, but what I was good at was working hard, and
Mm.
he valued that, and always looked to me to make decisions and things. And so um, that was important to him, and really in a microcosm, what I got, from Sand Springs schools and athletics in general. It
Mm.
was, don't always think of yourself. Um, think about helping others. And it's about the whole team. It's tough to win anything by yourself. And a lot of people whether it's making a great living and having money, or being talented or gifted in certain areas, whether that's in the arts or music or athletics, you don't ever get there by yourself.
Mm.
Somebody has to help you. There's a great book. It's a simple read, but it's probably one of the best books I've ever read. And it's called The Go-Giver.
Okay.
The
I'm gonna
Go-Giver
write
by
that.
John Mann. It's a very short read, but if you start to read it, you won't stop until you finished it. Um,
Okay.
it's about making differences in people's lives, and if I could say it was one thing in that book, I would want to pattern myself after the character that's in that book. I fall short a lot of
Wow.
times, but anyway, I'm sure I've left people off the list, but there were a lot of people. I got, my first job in Sand Springs was at the TGNY store, and TGNY was the Walmart before there was Walmart,
All right.
and it was down where Atwoods is today. And
Uh-huh.
I sold fishing rods and lures and shotguns. And a guy named Don Barbie was the manager of um, the TGNY store. And I went to school with his daughter, Kathy, and he gave me a job. And so one day, I'd been working there 2 or 3 months, and there were some guys back there, and they had come in to shop. They were going fishing, and I had just unpacked all these lures out of a big box, and I was talking to them about these lures because I use them out at Shell Creek, right?
Shell Creek, right? Yeah.
And so, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mr. Barbie, the manager, watching, and I thought, "Oh crap, I'm in trouble," because you're not supposed to be doing all this talking. You're supposed to be fronting merchandise and all those things.
Okay.
And so, um, after each one of these guys, when I kind of said, "Hey, I got to go," they grabbed a handful of lures each and put them in their cart and walked towards the front to pay for them. And Mr. Barbie came over to me and said, "Hey, let me ask you a question. How often does that happen?" And I thought, "How often does what happen?" And
Oh,
he said, "How often do you talk to groups of guys like that, and they pick up a bunch of fishing lures and buy them?" And by this time, I've caught on. I was
uh,
like, "Oh, it happens all the time. It happens all the
right,
time."
right. Of course.
And
Yeah.
so that's where my marketing career sort of started, was the public speaking, and friend making and team building. And so then I combined that a little bit with sales, and I went from there to Anthony's. I don't know if you remember, there was a store in Sand Springs called Anthony's, and I sold. So I go from selling shotguns and fishing lures to selling Wranglers and boots, which was also right up my alley at Anthony's just down the road.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's so good. So you started in sales. Your marketing started in
I
sales.
did. I did.
That's Always
which,
such an interesting
yeah,
tie-in between marketing and sales.
it prepares you well for what we do, right?
It
Marketing
does.
things to different target markets.
Yes, it does. Yes, you don't know what's gonna stick if you've never said it. So,
That's right.
you gotta, that's important to know people. Absolutely. So I think that you made a very long list of teachers, and I will say, I know you said you were worried that you left a few off the list, and
Mhm.
I think that's completely fine because this video is not going to come out to the public
Right.
after Teacher Appreciation Week. So I think the timing of this video is going to be great because, if you think of somebody else, you'll be like, oh, that's right, Teacher Appreciation Week. And you can send them a direct message and say, hey, you really are at the top of the list, right?
Well,
So
so
I think
there.
that's,
Let me just say there were Darla Trueblood, which was a typing teacher of mine, and the reason I remember her is I thought as a senior in high school I took typing um, for two reasons. One is because I thought I would probably need it when I went to college. And, computers were just starting to sort of come out. People were still, but, the concept's still the same. And the other
yeah.
reason is because I thought she was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen in my life. So I wanted to take her class. And so, half the time,
Oh,
when she looked the other way, I'd beat my machine up and hold my hand up and say, "Miss Trueblood, my machine's broken," so I could get a little attention from her. She was a fantastic teacher. Um,
and this was high school, I'm assuming.
this was in high school, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, sounds
yeah,
about right.
um,
That's awesome.
yeah,
So let's kind of, because I know that we're don't want to keep everybody who's watching too long here. I do want to take a minute though, because we always want to ask with these "Where Are They Now" articles that are in the magazine, to take a minute. And you've said a lot, but if you, given that we have the opportunity here, we're here. We might as well take this opportunity. If you were to give some words of encouragement to this next generation that's coming out of Sand Springs, of course, things look a lot different than typewriter class, but the foundation of character development is the same. So, if you were to give some words of encouragement to that generation, what would they be?
yeah. I would say I kind of live by these three things. One is do what's right. Um, the second one would be do the best you can, and I think that one is effort is hard to beat. I mean, even if you aren't the smartest person in your class or the best player on your team, a lot of times, I've seen at Oklahoma State, at Sand Springs, and other places where um, some of the standouts aren't the ones that have the most talent. They're what we call the gym rats. I mean, they're the ones that get there when the door
Hmm.
opens and you've got to scoot them out when you're trying to turn out the lights and send everybody home.
Right.
And at the end of the day, that hard work's going to pay off. That computers have replaced typewriters, and iPhones have replaced the old phone, but nothing's going to ever replace hard work. And you have to do it in the classroom. I took a lot of pride in what happened in the classroom. I tried to win every day in the classroom in English and history and math and science, as I did on the basketball court. And I hope that the coaches and people that invested in me saw that. So do what's right, do the best you can, and then the last one is treat other people as you'd like to be treated. Um, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort or energy just to treat people nice and to be kind. Um, Sometimes you go out of your way to do things, but you never know what people are going through, difficulties and challenges that people are having in their lives. And you never can tell what, just something nice, a kind act or a nice word could do for somebody in their day.
Think that is great advice. If you're not willing to put in the low weight, high reps, you're not going to be lifting what you need to be in. That's both in your career and athletics and this classroom, etc. I think that's wonderful advice, and thank you for that. So in your time in Sand Springs, were there other experiences that you had that you felt like prepared you for where you are today?
Yeah. I think experiences that I had in my church there, and experiences that I had with teachers giving me leadership roles. Um, it it sort of teaches you that sometimes there are tough decisions, and um, sometimes there are people that look to you, even though you may not consider yourself a leader. Somebody has seen something in you that makes them believe that you ought to be out front, and sometimes leadership's a heavy load to bear.
That can be
Um,
scary.
Sometimes it's easier just to sit on the bench, and but I would say a lot of teachers, a lot of administrators put me in positions, and looking back on it, I'm sure there were reasons for that, in terms of, hey, you just need somebody to organize something, or um, you need somebody to be an extension of yourself. And you have a cause that needs somebody to sort of pick up the baton and pass it around. And um, if you have a little bit of experience at things like that, oftentimes they'll go back to the well again and again. And
Hmm.
so, I found myself being asked by teachers, to do those kind of things. And, um, teaching, I did it for 4 years. So right out of college, I taught history and political science and coached high school football. And um, when you're a teacher, or you're in a leadership role, it's nice to know every once in a while that somebody's listening.
Mm.
Um, and to raise your hand and ask a question, and not just to make the teacher feel good, but because you have a desire to be on a quest for learning. And I had that. I wanted to learn things, and I probably teachers knew I was going to raise my hand and ask a question. And I've been on the other end of that. When you have a student that really wants to learn, you better know the content, because if they ask
Hmm.
a question that you don't know the answer to, you're going to be going and cracking a book pretty quick. So,
Right.
um, yeah, I think I really appreciate teachers for putting me in those positions, because I always saw it as a challenge and as a blessing,
Mhm.
that they would want to ask me to fill in those kind of roles.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that um, I your experiences, both your career path as well as your experiences in Sand Springs, I think many people are going to be able to relate to this. And it's so wonderful that you're giving these shout outs to the teachers because, like you said, I mean, it's nice to hear the hand raise. I can't imagine how it feels years later to hear the accreditation um, of your hard work and your intent and your intention within these teachers' daily commitment to their students. So I know you had a story you were going to tell us. Um,
Yeah, there's a guy still in Sand Springs named Mike Grayson. Mike worked at the steel mill, as did a lot of people back in those days, and um, had a lot of influence. He was a little league baseball coach, and sort of took me through from 6 years old all the way through 14, 15 years old, playing baseball there in little league and in Sand Springs. But um, one day my dad came into my bedroom, 1981, and he said, "Hey, I've got tickets to the International Finals Rodeo." And so we went, and they had a little intermission there, and a guy came on the microphone and he said, "Hey, we've got a young singer. We think you're really going to like him. He's just starting out, and his name is George Strait." And
oh,
so out comes George Strait on a horse, and his first album had just come out. And so I think he sang Amarillo by Morning and
I love that
Unwound,
song.
a couple of his
Yeah.
old songs of his now. And I thought that guy was really cool. And
Mm,
so
he is
I've seen
cool.
I've seen George Strait 26 times now in concert. Um, but two songs stand out. One is "Love Is Everything," and that is
Mm,
a recent song, not an old song of his. But what you were talking about a minute ago made me think of Tim McGraw, "Always Be Humble and Kind."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's it's hard to dislike people that are humble and kind. If you know that somebody wants to do something for you, help you out, um, and that, if there was a theme song for Sand Springs, that'd be it. There just always seemed to be people that, for whatever reason, wanted to help. And if I could encourage, if you'd asked me when I was in the 6th grade or the 9th grade or a senior in high school that I was going to be a, senior vice president in Oklahoma State, I would have said you're nuts. Um, and because I didn't have any idea, what I wanted to do, I just knew I liked
Right.
George Strait, and that I was going to try to go to college somewhere. And I think, because um, any success I've had is more reflective of Sand Springs and the people there than anything I did. Um,
Mm.
and if
Wow, what a
if
statement.
yeah, if students will just, give it effort, and let yourself be guided by your teachers and your coaches, you're going to end up in a really good place.
Love it. I love it. That's so awesome. Well, Kyle, thank you very much. Thank you. And again, congratulations on your induction into the Sand Springs Education Foundation Hall of Fame.
You bet.
Very exciting stuff. And we look to hear more from you and see you at homecoming, right?
Absolutely.